Hello guys, this is a review of my favorite movie of all time, 2001's very own horror masterpiece, Jeepers Creepers. Now before I get to the actual movie review, I have to leave a warning. While this isn't an exclusively adult-oriented movie review, it does deal with real-life, heavy scenarios, such as the fact that the writer and director of this film is a convicted child molester, and he was convicted for abusing Nathan Forrest Winters, who is actually trying to get a documentary going and is really looking for help and support for his cause to bring pedophilia in Hollywood to the light. So if you'd like to contribute in any way, feel free to do so. You could Google it, you could find this information easily. Anyway, like I said, the writer and director Victor Salva, he went to jail, he came out, did his time, and went on to make several films like The Peaceful Warrior, Rosewood Lane, not many, but several other films. And the guy was actually the protagonist in one of his films, Clown House, and they had worked together prior to that, but you could Google all of that. I don't want to make it seem like I'm shielding my own beliefs using other people's voices, but the actor who plays the creeper, Jonathan Breck, said in an interview that he didn't know anything about Victor's past prior to working with him, and he actually got a chance to meet the wonderful person that he was and the way that he treated other people and how he conducted himself with the staff and him. And now, putting that aside, let me give you my own belief. This is my opinion. It's something that I tell my friends when I talk about this with them. I tell them, we believe in a law system. We believe that if you commit a crime, you go to jail, you come out, or whatever the judge decides, depending on how long you're going to stay, or if you could prove your innocence, etc. And then you come out, right, to the world, and you have to find a job. So nobody, the taxpayers are not going to support you. Money's not going to fall off of the sky and just like into your hands. You're gonna have to find a job. So why not do something that you know how to do really good? He's so talented. Why would I want him mowing the lawn or working inside an office or making, when a carpenter makes a table, you don't care who makes it, you don't care what he did before. When you buy spoons, you're like, oh well, who invented like this fabricating business? Like, it's something that we don't really ask ourselves about. If you look at the top 5 restaurants, your top 5 movies, whatever, a lot of people committed crimes, and I'm not excusing it at all. I don't want to erase the past. But if you're going to find a job, might as well find a job doing what you do best. Now, if he said, I'm going to buy an ice cream truck and I'm going to sell ice cream outside of elementary school or middle school, I'll be appalled. I'll be like, what? I'm pretty sure everybody would, and I hope that he would as well. I like to think in my heart that he actually changed his ways, that he learned from the crime, and that he will never ever do it again. But I don't know him personally, I don't know. But having said that, I still believe, like, what does that have anything to do with somebody making a movie if he's not working with children? Working with children is a problem, right? He didn't work with children in this movie or the other movie, so I don't really see a correlation. One thing is the art, and like, he's so talented. We are depriving ourselves as fans, as moviegoers, of the privilege, and I have to check the time continuously because this isn't the first review that I do. I've been doing one the day before yesterday, then yesterday, but this is my favorite movie. I want to do it justice. I'm not very good at this, but I just feel such a passion for it. That's why I do it, and I want to get this right. Anyway, enough of that. This movie, like I said, was written and directed by Victor Salva. It stars Gina Philips and Justin Long as the protagonists. It also stars Eileen, Brennan as a cat lady, Patricia Belncher as Giselle the psychic, and I think Brandon Smith as a cop. I really apologize for not memorizing everybody's names. I have it here, but I'm very nervous. You know that. I mean, if you watched any of my other reviews, you're not very passionate about this. But anyway, let's keep on going. They're driving in a 1960s Chevy Impala, and they're coming home from spring break on this very isolated, long country road. And they're talking about, by the way, spoilers. Everybody knows that. do not do yourself the disservice of watching this before watching the movie. If you have, please, please, please. It's bad. It's bad. This movie is marvelous, majestic, so unique, so great. You have to experience it for yourself and then come back. I really, really do highly suggest that. But let's get fun fact. Like I was saying, the actual opening scene was supposed to be like around 20 minutes long according to the director, but they have to cut it because during test screenings they saw that people were losing interest, I don't know, I guess short attention span or whatever, so they had to cut it down. Another fun fact is that the show Unsolved Mysteries, I don't know if you heard, it's like from the 90s, where they depicted like real life crimes. Well, not the real ones, but you know, reimagined to the best of their abilities. And in this particular case with Dennis Dupuy, this guy that murdered his wife or girlfriend, it had almost the same shots as the opening scene from Jeepers Creepers, and the first 10 minutes or so, it's almost exactly the same. And a lot of people like to say, well, I mean, maybe subconsciously the director, because he does give credit to films like by Steven Spielberg or like the classic monster movies from the 50s, but at the same time, I like to say that show was just giving us a visual of what happened, real life events. So if anything, it didn't copy that, it copied the real life events, so it's based on a true story or based on real life events. Anyway, the acting by the brother and sister is just marvelous, man. Gina and Justin, which by the way their characters is Patricia Jenner and Darius Jenner, we call her Trish and Darry, marvelous, so believable. I know a lot of people like to think like, oh, the Oscars or every Academy Award, like they take drama very seriously and whatnot, but these are quality actors, high quality. Not for 1 minute, not for 1 second did I think, oh well, I'm watching some actors. They didn't look prepared, even though they did rehearse like crazy. But it looks so legit, so real. You know, whether you're talking about like Kenny and Darla, some kids that were murdered 20 or something years ago, they never found their head or something like that. They're, you know, going over brother and sister talk, kind of being annoying. There's a lot of backstory to Gina, but you have to, Gina's character, you have to really pay attention. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'm actually a fan. Like, you know how people are like, I'm a fan of this. No, I'm a real fan. Like, I've watched this film like hundreds of times. I'm sure my mom would agree and would hate my guts for it because sometimes she had to watch it with me. But yeah, feel free to ask me any questions because I obviously can't go over 30 minutes because the video has been shutting off. And I just can't cram. That's why I'm talking too fast. But I'm sorry for interrupting. This is just the way I do things. Anyway, they're driving down and they see this huge old rusty truck coming at them, and they miss it, but they see it again later, and this guy that's driving it with a hat and like white hair is dumping what appears to be bodies down a pipe next to an old abandoned church. And then once they actually escape the chase, or what appears to be a chase, they go back. The brother's argument is like, what if it was you back there? We have to go back and check to see if they need help and help them. And this is a point where that gets criticized by a lot of people. They're like, that's not realistic, that would never happen in real life. Well, newsflash, it actually did happen in real life with the Dennis Dupuy case that I was talking about earlier on Unsolved Mysteries. So people are that dumb. I like to say more brave. You know, we're just cowards, and I say we because I would probably not go back either. But there are actually people that want to do good and want to help people when and if they can. So they head over there, and Darry's looking down the pipe, see if anybody needs help and if he could do something about it. He tells his sister to grab him by the ankles or the shoes, but rats start coming out of the pipe, and she lets go. He falls down, and he discovers the gruesome reality, the terrifying reality in the basement underneath the church. And it's the fact that on the walls, it's a bunch of bodies, like preserved bodies that are even sewed together. And it looks like they said, like the psycho version of the Sistine Chapel. Just crazy, so macabre. And on the table there's like this design of like a devil, which we later learn is a self-portrait. By the way, this whole lair is called House of Pain. That's what the creeper calls it, according to the psychic, which we'll get to later on. So he's looking over, and among the bodies with the flashlight, oh, such beautiful scenes. You just have to watch it. He puts a flashlight here, he's tying his shoes, and the audience gets to see the bodies before the actor realizes that they're there. Darry's character. Crazy, crazy. And then he's flashing through the bodies, and he finds the bodies of Kenny and Darla, the prom king and queen that I was telling you about earlier with the class ring. He comes out, tells Trish, she's a little bit adamant. How is she gonna believe that story? They get to the diner, and before they get to call for help, they receive a call themselves from the psychic Giselle, and she tells them about a rose tattoo that he has near his belly button. He asks him if he's seen the cat lady already, and actually names him and his sister. They don't know what to believe. They're like, does somebody have a cell phone here that's actually, watching us and pulling a prank call or something? They don't know what to believe. Then they hang up, and the cops get there. It's a male cop and a female cop. They interrogate Darry. They don't really believe him, but they still obviously help him to the police station. And as they're driving down the country road, by the way, the psychic, during the phone call, she told Darry to watch out for a song called Jeepers Creepers. If he heard it, run, because the most terrible thing could happen to you and will happen to you. Fun fact, Jeepers Creepers is actually a minced oath that began in the 1920s or gained popularity there, instead of saying Jesus Christ, Jeepers Creepers. And then in the 1930s, the song was used for the movie Going Places and was nominated for an Academy Award for original song, best original song. That's very fun to know. Anyway, as they're driving and the cops are behind them, the siblings are flipping through the radio stations, and they begin hearing a rendition of Jeepers Creepers by, I think, Peekaboo. Is that Jeepers, where you get those peepers? And in the background, behind the glass of their car, is the creeper. So by then we're like, is this even an old man like we thought? They're arguing over the song, and he's on top of the roof of the car. He gets obviously he gets the female cop by the head and just throws her, and then rips a hole on the roof and pulls the male cop's head with an axe-like weapon. He slashes it and throws it around and falls on the windshield of the brothers. The cars both start swiveling like crazy, and at that point they don't really know what's going on, the siblings, so they come out of their car, and the creeper comes out whistling a tune, which was actually whistled by one of the staff members, not part of the cast. I think he's the editor, I'm not sure, but that's actually the voice that was used for the, I can't whistle, but it's a dun, 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 in the whistle tone. And it's so crazy. He picks up the head, and it looks like he's gonna make out with it, but instead he bites the tongue and pulls it out and eats it. And they're just watching. They drive away as fast as they could and stop outside of a house full of cats, and that's a cat lady's house that the psychic told him about. She's very reluctant to help them because she doesn't care about humans very much. She cares about her cats, her babies. And then she notices, as they're kind of going back and forth if she has a phone or not, she notices that her scarecrow is not there, and in the place of the scarecrow is the creeper. And he has the hat and the coat, so it kind of looks like a scarecrow, but it's so creepy. She comes out and warns him with the rifle, if you don't leave, I'll shoot you. She starts counting down, and as he begins to move, she shoots. The next scene, he's like on the roof, goes down, the cats start going crazy, and she goes in to protect them. And this is one of the most marvelous scenes. He actually picks her up, and as from the front view, we think that it's the old lady walking out, that she actually killed them, but it's him in a ventriloquist-like way, walking, hanging, like with her. We see the flippers are not even touching the ground, so he's carrying her out. And fun fact, the creeper was supposed to talk. The studio wanted the creeper to talk, but he obviously didn't actually make it into the final cuts, which, praise the Lord, he didn't, because I agree that it's better if he doesn't talk. But the one line that he did have that was cut was, "She don't look too good, Darius," and he throws her away. And instead of that, we get just a very friendly, beautiful smile from the creeper, and he starts chasing after them. They go to their car, they trick him, and run him over. By the way, this isn't a fun fact, this is kind of a tragedy, but one of the stuntmen that was working as a creeper got seriously injured during that shot, and luckily he didn't die, and he didn't, like, as far as I know, suffer very severe damages from it, injuries I mean, and they actually ended up using the shot, so hey. I mean, no life is worth it, but it's pretty cool that they did. They trick him, they run him over, and one of the lines, I think, well, I think it was the line where Trish is like, do you think he's dead? She's like, they never are, or something like that, was actually for Justin's character, but he didn't want it, so Gina took it. And yeah, it's on the special features. I'm pretty sure it was that one, but I might be mistaken. They then see that something is pulling from the back of the coat, and it turns out that it's a wing. It just starts, flapping. So cool. By then they're obviously sure that this isn't human, this is some demon, some bat out of hell, like they call it. And some people say that the CGI doesn't really hold up to today's standards because of the advancements in technology, but I beg to differ. I mean, I'm not an expert, but for me it looks realistic, it looks really cool in like a superhero type of way, obviously the villain in this case. They then get to the station, right? The police station, and in walks Giselle, the town sidekick, and she explains to them that this thing eats eyes so it can see, and lungs so it can breathe, and whatever it eats becomes a part of it, and that it could only appear for 23 days every 23rd spring. That's the point in the story where I hear the most criticism, is that you don't have to verbally explain it to us, like it just, the whole vibe of the movie changed then. But for me, being raised Catholic in a Catholic household with a lot of rules and a lot of beliefs, I bought it completely, and I watched it when I was like I think 6 or 7 years old, and I was in Mexico, and I'll get more into that later. But yeah, she goes in there and explains that. I love it. I do not agree with those people. And she's telling him, okay, he'll find you in a room, and I have nightmares, and I see one of you guys screaming the last scream you'll ever scream. So she tries to save them, but they end up in the one of the top stories in the police station, in an interrogation room. You know those double-sided mirrors where like on one it's a mirror and the other one is just like just glass, and the creeper is trying to sniff Trish. He breaks in. That's the most emotional scene. Trish is begging the creeper, please take me, I have everything the same as him inside, you want me. But he doesn't listen, and he takes Darry. He flies away. She looks out and just sees him flying away with her brother. Such a sad scene. And then the next morning, Giselle tells Trish that her parents are waiting for her outside, and she asks her something that her brother asked her before: are your dreams ever wrong? And she just dismisses as like, I'm just a crazy old lady, ask anybody, they'll tell you. And the last scene, fun fact, I mean probably everybody knows, but is the creeper working on his little crafty things, and the guy in the costume and the makeup is actually Justin Long. And they had other ending shots, but they ended up with this one where Darry's body is just standing there lifeless with holes in his eyes because he obviously took his eyes, and the creeper just sneaks in like that. Now the original ending was supposed to be this very high action sequence where the brother and sister take the creeper's truck, and then the creeper throws Trish out of the truck, and Darry sacrifices himself and runs into a train to save them, but actually ends up getting killed either way. I'm kind of glad that they didn't use it, even though if I would have seen that before this one, I don't know what would have happened. But a little bit of backstory as to how I became a fan of this film. Like I said, I was like in Mexico. I didn't speak a word of English, and I remember talking to my sister, who's a huge horror movie fan, and she's only 2 years older than me. She told me that she cried with this movie. I was like, so then it has to be legit if she cried. And my dad was visiting from the States at that time, and just a bunch of aunts. We were like 10 people in the living room. They made hamburgers. We were eating, watching the movie. I was terrified, horrified. And my mom was like, okay, so your dad wants to go to the plaza later on, so you have to take a shower. And I was like, please, Mom, no, please, in Spanish, please, Mommy, no. Oh, fun fact. The actual translation of the movie title is not the same in other languages. Like, for example, in Spanish, sometimes it's called Camino al Terror, which is Road to Terror, or El Demonio, the demon, and then there are others. And then in Italian, I think it's like Il Canto del Diavolo, which is like the song of the devil, or the singing of the devil, something like that. Just a little fun fact. Anyway, I had to take a shower. I was a very obedient kid. I wasn't like physically forced to it, but I had to do it, even though I was mortified. And I was taking a shower like I was so scared. And from then on, I had nightmares, and up to this day, I mean, not like every day obviously, but like at least once a year. And fast forward to around 2004, I was now here in the United States, in this very house, but in the back room, with my dad and some of his friends. And they were showing commercials, advertisements for the movie that they were going to play later on that night, which was actually Jeepers Creepers 2. Obviously, I had not watched it up to that point, but I remember watching the cornfield and the crosses and the crows, and I was like, something in my mind. I remember because before this, like, my brain just used this defense mechanism to where it just blocked all the memory of the movie out, and I just remember this vampire looking thing just jumping over a car and doing backflips and flying, and but nothing really precise, nothing really clear. And at this point, 2004, I was like 8 or 9. I was like, or early 2005. I was like, it's him. I know it's him. What do I do? And I remember when the movie actually came on and I confirmed that it was that one, I closed my eyes, I covered my ears, and covered my head with the blankets. I did not watch a single second of it after realizing it was that. I was like, I can't believe it's followed me this long. I mean, it's tortured. It's been torturing me for so long. Like, you have to keep in mind, I was scared of the villains in Pinocchio. I was scared of the witch from Snow White, the Grinch, everything. Everything villainous just killed me. And then around 2007 or 2008, I was in my cousin's house. I was a lot older then, probably around 12 or 13, and we were looking over a box of old VHS tapes, and we were looking for something scary because I was like, I'm a big boy. I'm not scared of scary movies, but I was. And I looked at the original copy of Jeepers Creepers, and I was like, let's watch that. Everybody was really excited to watch it, so me and my cousin watched it, and the other one ran away because he was scared. And I remember being so creeped out again, as if it was the first time I went over to the other part of the house, and I was like, whoa. From then on, the love for the movies, just like, we watched it again like 3 times. But I was still scared of scary movies. And then, roll on the years to around 2000, late 2009, early 2010, around that time, I began my movie collection overall, DVD collection, and probably, if not in the top 3, then the top 5 first movies, well, not top, but the first 5 movies, or even 3, was this one, this MGM double feature 2 DVD set of Jeepers Creepers 1, Jeepers Creepers 2. Changed my life forever. I can still remember when I found it in the $5 bin at Walmart, and I picked it up and I was walking with it like in a bag, and I watched I think the second one first, actually. It just changed my life forever. By then I was around 15 or 16, I think 15. I was still mortified of horror movies, believe it or not, I was. And I just kept watching it ever since, hundreds and hundreds of times. Well, maybe not like thousands, but yeah, in the hundreds for sure. And then it just led to everything right here. Like, let me just share these things. This is the comic book, but I can't really get into detail with this one because I haven't reviewed Jeepers Creepers 2. So I'll review Jeepers Creepers 2 and then I'll get to that one. Hopefully it doesn't fall. It's fallen before. This is a FI exclusive. Look at the detail. It's amazing. So you could only get this one at FI. I know that there's another one that they sell with the things closed down. Or with the hat or something? No, just closed down at GameStop or something. But yeah, this one's different. It won't stand. It'll take a nap. And yeah, it just led to all of this. This is the 4K limited edition. I don't even have a 4K TV. I have like the portable DVD player that's in the back. No, Blu-ray player. I actually bought it just for this Scream Factory collector's edition. I'm not saying don't buy the Blu-ray, the other Blu-ray, but this one is just the best. The features in this version are just crazy. I remember feeling cocky rather. Like, I know everything. There's nothing that they could tell me that I don't know unless they were actually there. But this one really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't know, obviously from staff members and cast members, and it was such a treat. I remember hearing, like, I think it was 2016 when Gina Philips and Justin Long came back to do the audio commentary on the movie, and I was like, that didn't happen. I was still like, even though I read it in the description, I didn't believe it until I actually saw it for myself, and it's worth it. Fun and funny. I remember back my adolescent years, I wasn't having a very good time. I was having a lot of mental issues that translated into physical issues. I was in the hospital all the time. I didn't really want to be here, and the thing for me that made it worth it was right here. That's why it means so much to me. I remember feeling guilty and like talking to a very close family member about the whole issue that I mentioned at the beginning, and being like, am I supporting this? Is this wrong? Is this right? And then ultimately I just came up with this, you know, with the explanation that I gave you before, and just the fact that I love it. It kept me from doing crazy things. And I remember thinking, I have to wait to watch the third film, Jeepers Creepers 3, which actually came out in 2017 and was obviously the first movie review that I ever did in my entire life, and is still in this channel. 2017, like I said, but it was always on and off. It was like, oh yeah, we're gonna make it, and then it was like, no, it's not gonna get made. So, you know, I had something to look forward to. It really, really saved my life. This is not an exaggeration, and suicide is a very serious issue. I'm not saying that I attempted it, but I contemplated every day during those years. Terrible, terrible time for me. And this was literally the only thing, or among the only things. I'd say even the main thing. Like, I was just so excited for it. Within like the nightmares of my reality, and then this illusion of this flying demon just like going around. I don't know what it was. The movie has beautiful sceneries. It was beautifully shot. Sometimes they actually have to edit it to make it more creepy, more dark, because the sun was shining, the birds were singing, the flowers were blooming, and it didn't really fit the feel, but like, of the movie. But like, one of the staff members said, this isn't, I think it was the guy who actually designed the creeper. He was like, this isn't a teen slasher film, this isn't your thriller film, this is a legit monster movie. It's so real. You don't have to spend like hours like trying to decipher, what do they mean, what exactly are they talking about. No, but at the same time, it isn't just dumb, like just plain out just murder and bad acting. This has everything just came in the right place. Everybody involved, I mean, everybody did such a good job. Watching like the interviews, listening to them, and reading interviews online, everybody really poured their entire heart out for this film, and it shows. They created something marvelous. Like I said earlier, feel free to ask me any questions. I'm actually in like fan groups. I keep up to date with what's going on Jeepers Creepers wise. at least a couple times a month, once a month, for years and years. So I know a lot, trust me. And I'd love to discuss it. Feel free to let me know what you think. Even if you disagree, it's fine. I love honesty. And am I missing? I'm pretty sure I'm missing something, but the score by Bennet Salvay. Amazing original composition. You cannot, or you could miss it, but if you want to, buy it, listen to it. It freaks me out all by itself. And I would keep going because of course there are other little details that I could say. I know a lot of fun facts. I prepared a lot for this movie review, even though they haven't worked out. But yeah, I don't want this video to shut, so without further ado, I say my goodbyes. Thank you for watching.